It is a brand new episode of CNB. I am Siddharth Vinayak Patankar. Thank you for joining us. I come to you this week from the Algarve region in Portugal, and I am back in this very special part of the world with yet another 8 series. Now you remember the last time we were here, we gave you a chance to look at the convertible and also a sneak preview at the Gran Coupe. That car is now ready for its market launch. It is the one that's coming to us as well. So a few glimpses on this car right through the show. So it is that new generation car, and you get a special color to go with it, of course. What's surprising, it is one of those matte colors which BMW likes to call frozen. So this is the frozen brilliant white, and I've spent a good amount of time with this car. But before we start to talk about this car, let's talk about a special bike that came out just a few days ago in India, and we've had the chance to review it now for you. This is the FTR 1200 from Indian. And it's a complete departure from what you typically expect from Indian, because it's the first time in a sense that the company has gone really all out sporty. Kingshuk spent time with the bike. Here it is.
One look at the Indian FTR 1200 and you know it is a motorcycle for the purist. It is a bold new direction for Indian motorcycle, and frankly an exciting one too. We had an opportunity to swing our leg over the FTR 1200 and boy, were we excited. We all know Indian motorcycle to make chrome-laden heavy-set cruisers which are perfect for the open highway. These machines have oodles of street presence and love munching miles. But now, Indian motorcycle has come with a new model which will literally set your heart racing. Yes, I am talking about the Indian FTR 1200. It is a sleek, sexy, one-of-its-kind motorcycle from Indian. And I can't wait to get more of this. There are many features to boot on the FTR 1200. The party piece is the 4.3-inch touchscreen instrument console, which houses controls for riding modes, traction control, and various settings for smartphone connectivity and display options. The FTR 1200 gets 3 riding modes, which are Rain, Standard and Sport. It is evident that there is an air of sensuality around the motorcycle. The FTR 1200 is a beautiful street tracker with an aggressive stance and excellent attention to detail. The lines, the contours and the fit and finish is in line with Indian's high standards. The golden USDs coupled with the sleek fuel tank and the sharp rear, along with the very sexy twin exhaust, make for a hip looking motorcycle. (1200cc V-twin), 120 brake horsepower and 120 Newton meters of peak torque. The FTR 1200 is unlike anything we have ever seen from Indian motorcycle. Yes, it does get the good old American V-twin engine, but this one is a rev-happy motorcycle. Its sweet spot lies between 5000 and 8000 RPM. The bottom end is strong, yes, but if you want your eyes to gleam with joy, you have to ring the engine, you have to ring the throttle, and believe me, you'll love it. The motorcycle emits a bass-laden V-twin burble which is quite distinct and likeable too. The power delivery is quite good, but the throttle response is a little snatchy. especially when you're riding in the sport mode and at low speeds. But once you climb up the revs, the FTR 1200 is simply delightful. It is the most entertaining mode and lets you take fast exits out of corners. The response is dialed down in the rain mode and the electronics setting are bumped up in order to offer maximum safety net. While in standard mode, the bike stays affable with minimal intervention. Thanks to its Brembo brakes, the FTR 1200 gets sure shot stopping power too.
Never did I dream of riding an Indian motorcycle like this one. The FTR 1200, it is so nimble, so agile. You will love hustling this motorcycle through corners. The balance and stability is on point, and the grip from done-up tires is commendable too. Plus, with almost 15 centimeters of travel from the front and rear suspension, you need not slow down for bumps and potholes. This bike will swallow it all up.
The Indian FTR 1200 is no adventure bike. It is more of a cross between a naked roadster and a scrambler. Its on-road performance is delightful, but should you want to go off tarmac, you best keep it to light dirt trails. The grip from Dunlop tires is better on road than on dirt, and in case you want to stand up and ride, the handlebar is too low for that. Should you want to indulge in shenanigans on dirt, the bike will be more than happy to do so. The Indian FTR 1200 is just too sexy. At least that's what we think. The 1200S is priced at 15,99,000 rupees, while the 1200S race replica is priced at 17,99,000 rupees. The race replica gets a sexier color scheme along with an Acropovic exhaust and few other accessories. If you have the money and if you want to buy a rather niche motorcycle, the FTR 1200 makes a good case for itself.
Now with me here is the M840i, so that's the M Performance engine, 3-litre inline 6, 333 horses, 500 Nm of torque, so lots of fun to be had on the road, that's for sure. And while I'm teasing you with a look at this car, I promise you that review will be on our show very soon. But for now, speaking of reviews, we stay with them and we now jump straight into the latest at the other end of the spectrum, a very humble product by comparison to this one, but certainly one that's very relevant. It's the CVT range from Datsun.
The last we heard from Datsun India was almost a year ago, when it launched the facelift of the Go and GO Plus.
And we were told back then that the automatic transmission variants were on their way. And well, here they are, the CVT on the Go and the GO Plus. And while the facelift brought in trendy features, right from safety features to, and even the much needed design update, the one thing that was lacking was an automatic transmission, which has now become its biggest USP. You may ask why that's so, and that's solely because the trend in the hatchback segment, in that entry-level hatchback segment for automatics has grown and the demand is there, which is why Datsun is catering to that very demand with these two vehicles. Well, the CVT becomes its biggest USP for another reason, because it's the first time in this segment that both these cars are going to get this technology.
And that's what brings in more focus to both these cars, because Datsun is going all out to say that sophisticated automatic technology is available at a reasonable price. So yes, these will come at a premium, and that's because the CVT will be available only in the top two variants, T and TO. And so expect a hike of about 50,000 rupees over the top end variant. Let's get into it then. How do they drive?
Let's talk about the Datsun Go first. Now, this one is the same 1.2 litre engine, the same tuned engine as well. It's the manual actually felt very peppy, and the light clutch really made it even better. The CVT takes things to a different level because its seamless transitions really ease the way you drive, and that comes in really handy when you're driving in traffic conditions. But there is that rubber band effect for that basically always is on CVT gearboxes. So there is a lag of power every time you put your foot down and you want to go, and that comes in. That is pretty frustrating, especially when you want to overtake the car in front of you. Even in low gears, it doesn't really work well. It's just, I don't know how to say it. It's nagging that the gearbox does not respond as quickly as you want it to, and that's probably one fault. But again, in city traffic conditions and in cruise mode, I mean, if you just want to cruise down the highway, there's nothing better this can do. It is really good in that department.
It certainly eases the way you drive around, and the CVT is a boon, especially for those who commute for 2 hours one way because of traffic. And the big takeaway is also the fuel economy, which stands at 20.07 kilometers per litre, which is more than even the manual transmission option. That's the hatch then. But what about the one with 7 seats?
The Go Plus getting a CVT is a big deal, and that is because its closest rival, the Renault Triber, which was launched really recently, does not get one. It does not get an automatic as of now. Frankly, it will get one, and that will be an AMT. So the CVT in the Go Plus is a big deal for that company. As far as the drive or even the power is concerned, the Go Plus is more powerful than the Triber. 75 brake horsepower on this one, but what essentially it has is that CVT gearbox, and yes, it looks desperately to shine in that, but it doesn't, because that rubber band effect is still there, and you can't help but notice that. So when you put the throttle down, there's a loud noise from the engine, and that CVT gearbox actually plays catch up. Having said that, the gears change smoothly. It's not a clunky sound that it makes, it's really smooth, but you can't expect this car to do any performance oriented thing. Even in sport mode that it has, doesn't really go as fast as you want it to. So clearly it's doing its job of cruising in and out of city and helping you in city traffic conditions.
As far as fuel economy goes, the Go Plus with the CVT returns a fuel economy figure of 19.41 kilometers per litre. And when you compare that to the manual transmission, which is 19.72 kilometers per litre, you understand how close it really is between the two. The cabin and the feature list remain unchanged. But while the Go Plus gets a mix of beige and black interiors, the Go gets an all-black cabin. Then you have a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and there are cubby holes all around. The cabin is spacious, and yes, all those skeptical of the plastic quality used, well, this is a big improvement over the pre-facelift version. As far as safety features go, both the cars come with dual airbags, ABS with EBD and brake assist, rear parking sensors, driver and passenger seatbelt reminder as standard. Both cars are now structurally rigid too and comply with side crash and pedestrian protection regulations, which is a big step indeed. It all comes down to the price with the CVT transmission then. And that information we don't have yet. What we know is it will be available only in the top end variants of both the cars. and will have a premium attached to the price. But even with the premium price tag, the CVT variants of both the cars will be priced under 6,50,000 rupees. And that's because Datsun claims that the price tag will make both the cars the most affordable cars with CVTs in the country. And that deserves a pat on the back for the company. Why? Because it's just told the rest of the car makers that CVT is definitely affordable and they need not go the AMT way.
Welcome back to CNB. We now look at an electric scooter. This is one that's gotten our attention because of late anything electric is certainly getting a lot of your attention as well. I'm speaking about the Okinawa Praise Pro, but before I get to that, I want to quickly show you that the cabin of the 8 Series Gran Coupe is very much like, of course, its siblings, the Coupe and the convertible, which are two-door, and so you get a really cockpit kind of a feel, but there's lots of driver aids and equipment on this car that I promise to show you when we show you the review. Now, that electric scooter.
Okinawa Autotech is one of the more prominent electric two-wheeler brands in India, and it has stepped up its activities as far as new product launches are concerned. With the Praise Pro, Okinawa's electric scooter range goes up to 7 models in India.
Okinawa recently launched its all-new electric scooter, which is the Praise Pro. Now, in terms of positioning, the Praise Pro is positioned between the Praise and the iPraise, making this the middle variants of sorts. As far as the design goes, it is a conventional looking scooter and it will be available in 2 colors, which is glossy red black and glossy sparkle black. You wouldn't mind having this scooter as your first ride if you're a college goer or a young professional.
The front apron has a pullback design with a V-shaped LED headlamp and daytime running lights placed on the sides of the apron. The handlebar mounted indicators along with the red and black color scheme give the electric scooter a sporty look. The red and black color interplay is continued here too, and the side panels culminate into a neat tail section with blacked out grab rails. Oh, and we really like the aluminium alloy wheel design up front. We really wish the rear wheel got the same design as well. The scooter gets all LED lighting to begin with and a fully digital instrument console which shows speed, battery levels, trip and odometer, and has the typical telltale lights. The other thing where the Praise Pro left us a little wanting was the fit and finish and the quality of plastics used. Also, thanks to the battery, the scooter doesn't have any underseat stowage. The Praise Pro gets twin shock absorbers with dual tube technology at the rear and telescopic suspension up front. Plus, it gets 12-inch tubeless tires at both ends along with disc brakes too.
The scooter gets a 2 kWh lithium-ion battery which gives it a range of 88 km in the sports mode and about 110 km in the economy mode. The top speed is restricted to about 35 to 40 km per hour in the economy mode and goes up to 75 km per hour in the sports mode. As we said, it is a lithium-ion battery. You can remove it, take it out and charge it at the convenience of your home, gym or even your office. It charges from naught to full in about 3 hours.
So, the Okinawa Praise Pro will get you from point A to point B at a comfortable pace. As long as you're riding in the 30 to 55 km per hour range, you'll be fine, and the occasional use of the turbo button will allow you to overtake slow moving vehicles. You'll always be stuck with the slower lot when riding on city roads. If you're in a hurry, you might as well choose another mode of transport. It is a light scooter and filtering through traffic is easy and doesn't feel like a chore. The riding position feels a little cramped as the floorboard is too high, and more often than not, your knees will end up hitting your elbows. Taller riders will find it even more cramped. And we wish the suspension setup were a little softer. The ride quality is bouncy, and even small speed bump or pothole will leave you with a jarring ride experience. Apart from that, it is a decent performer.
The Okinawa Praise Pro offers decent performance, and it will take you from point A to point B as long as you're not in a tearing hurry. Sure, it doesn't offer the performance of a conventional 110cc scooter, but then it is green and the running costs, they will be significantly lower too.
At a price of 71,990 rupees, the Okinawa Praise Pro sure is an expensive proposition. But the running costs will be lower than those of any petrol-powered scooters, and its decent performance means that the Praise Pro could be an option for first-time riders, college-goers and elderly people. It can easily manage a daily commute of up to 40 kilometers. Plus, taking the battery out, charging it and putting it back means you'll get your dose of daily workout as well, because it weighs in at 14 kgs.
So on the 8 Series family, the reason why the Gran Coupe becomes most relevant for us in India is of course because it's a 4-door and you've got comfortable seating in the rear, which is important to buyers in our market, and it is a much longer wheelbase, so it's not still cramped, it's nice and roomy back here, and yet you've got the feeling of a sports car because of these individual rear seats. More on this car as I promised, but that's on the show next week. Please in the meanwhile tell me what you think of the show, and always promise me you'll wear your seatbelts. I see you next week.